Hey, Shalom fam. I just wanted to apologize for my absence. My computer crashed on me, throwing my whole setup into chaos. But, hallelujah, his servant is back on it and I'm up and running. Occulty Denise, wherever you are out there in listenership land, my sister, Coty, I'd like to thank you again, sis. You helped to get my fingers back to these keys. Coty, I'm forever grateful for your kindness. Forever. Okay, y'all. That's enough of my rambling. Let's get to it.
They say you want the top now. Well, I don't need it. They say you got it all, still you want it all. When that's all finished, living your life chasing a check while they checking your progression. Please don't pressure me.
Whatever was going on with Caleb caused him to make love to me in a way that almost consumed me. First there on his desk, and then again in his shower. I was very aware that he was taking his anger and frustration out in the act of making love. And, maybe there was something seriously wrong with me. But it was the hottest, most erotic thing I had ever experienced. Okay, I mean, technically, my experience isn't all that extensive. And I really don't have anything to compare it to, since Caleb is the only man I've ever been with. But I know, down to the deepest part of my being, that what happened in his office today was earth-shattering. As we dried off after the shower, I couldn't help but study him and wonder. His mind had gone back to whatever he and Tiny had been talking about before I came into the office. The frown was back on his face. My eyes traveled down his body as his strong muscles flexed as he slid his legs into his pants. He took a t-shirt down out of his closet, but before he could put it over his head, someone knocked on his office door. "I'll get it. Keep getting dressed," he told me before he walked out of the office bare-chested with his shirt in hand, pulling the door behind him. Instantly, I thought about all those feathers that were everywhere in there, and I prayed he didn't open the door all the way for whoever it was so that they could look into the office. However, the male voice I heard at the door caused me to cringe. It was Shlomo. Dang it! Quickly, I slid into the rest of my clothes. Glad I had brought my jean skirt and sweatshirt, something that would be easy to put on. When I was dressed, I took one last look at myself in the mirror, praying I didn't look like I had just done what we just done. Oh crap, there was a huge hickey on my neck. Well, there go me, trying to play it off like I was in the area and decided to use the shower. I put my hands on my face, blushing big time. I had no idea how I was going to be able to look the man I had come to view as a big brother in the face. But then, a memory surfaced. I didn't have anything to be ashamed of. In fact, several memories surfaced of Shlomo being very inappropriate with Stormy on several occasions. A time that really comes to mind is when Stormy had first come back to the center. At the time, I don't know, I had to have been maybe 9 or 10. She and Shlomo had taken up the task of organizing the equipment room that was inside the gym. Nana told me to take some jump ropes down to them, and oh my goodness, what I had caught them doing had made me yell out. For years after that, Shlomo had tried to use some kind of Jedi mind trick and convince me that I had dreamed the whole thing. Chuckling at the memory, I put lip gloss on my lips before I eased the door open and slipped out the bathroom, just in time to see them embracing in a brotherly hug. "Hey, Shalom, Ak," Caleb muttered, but I could tell he was not real happy to see Shlomo. Not for the same reasons I wasn't happy to see him at this moment. "Shalom, little brother. How are you?" He looked at Caleb, seeing more than either of us could imagine. Caleb reached up and rubbed his hand down his face, his tension and stress apparent. Man, I'm alright, I guess. Just gotta make some moves, you know what I mean? Maybe I need to put some things on hold. Well, let's talk about that, Caleb didn't really move back and invite Shlomo in as much as Shlomo just kind of stepped around him and into the office. A smile came on his handsome face when he saw me pulling the bathroom door up behind me. Hey, troublemaker, how's it going? I gave him a nervous smile because the office looked like exactly what happened in it happened. I'm good, Shlomo. Wow, he said, looking around. What happened here? Did somebody beat up a chicken? I started choking. Oh my goodness. My freaked out gaze flew to Caleb, who just chuckled a bit before shaking his head slightly as he walked to his desk. However, by the time he sat down in his chair, the smile had disappeared from his face. He exhaled. Look, I know why you're here, man, and the situation's out of my hands, okay? I gotta handle this business. Shlomo leaned down to dust some feathers out of the seat across from Caleb. As he did it, he looked at me. This has your name all over it, he muttered before easing down in the chair. I ignored him and on the low key started sweeping feathers together with my feet. But I don't even know why I bothered. The feathers was not the only telltale sign of what Caleb and I had just done. The stuff on his desk was still pushed to the side, leaving an empty spot in the middle that anybody with good sense could guess why. Oh my goodness. I know my face was beet red. I was so embarrassed that it took me a minute to see that neither Shlomo nor Caleb was paying attention to the desk. These two were involved in some kind of silent battle of wills. Hey, I understand something's come up. That's life. But unfortunately, we can't choose when y'all calls. There's no availability sheet here to fill out. These things happen when it's time. Caleb rubbed his hand through his beard. Solomon, man, he shook his head. Look, man, I'm sorry. What has come up is gonna need my undivided attention. You've been invited to the Lion's Den. He wants to meet you today. I could tell Caleb was irritated with this news. He frowned at Shlomo. Don't you think that's a bit convenient for him to want to meet me now? I've been waiting for that invite since I got out. Why now? Shlomo chuckled without humor, for the first time looking his age. Suddenly, he looked tired. Little brother, there's nothing convenient about this situation for either of you. Lion and Gideon both just lost their sons, the strength of their loins. I can't even begin to describe the pain they're going through right now. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. But that seems to me to be more of a reason to postpone this meeting. That way, they can handle things on their end and I can handle things on mine. Shlomo shook his head. That's not how this thing works. Lion closed the gym down today to meet you because Yah said it's time. And when Yah says it's time, little brother, you drop everything to answer his call. You are just a man. You know not what is in store. But be brave and step up to the bat. Caleb rubbed his hands down his face, good and frustrated. He was so torn. I could see the battle he was fighting within himself. What the world had happened? What was he going through? Can I come too? I asked, walking around Caleb's desk to stand next to him. I reached down and took his hand in mine. I didn't know what he was going through, but there was a strong feeling in me that he needed to do this. It felt like it was a matter of life and death. Shlomo smiled up at me, and I could see that he was proud. Sure, troublemaker, you can come too. I turned to look down at Caleb. He looked up at me, and the conflict he was going through was there in his eyes. I pulled his hand to my lips and kissed his rough, scarred knuckles. Come on, baby. You can do this. Everything happens for a reason. At least find out why. He frowned up at me as if he thought about it, but then he nodded. Yeah, all right. I paused after stepping into the gym. The air felt different here. Shlomo turned to watch me. I frowned, wondering, was I tripping? What's the matter, Ak? He asked. I shook my head. Nothing. I couldn't even think of the words to describe what I just felt when I crossed the threshold. So I just shook my head again, Nothing. With a slight grin on his face, he looked at me a moment longer before he nodded slightly and turned to walk further into the gym. I took Monica's hand, pulling her closer to me. The air was different in this place, and until I knew why, I wanted her close, just in case I had to get us out of here quick. I relied heavily on my instincts, and my instincts were telling me we had stepped into something unlike anything I was used to. I thought about everything I had ever heard of this place that was tucked deep in the heart of the ghetto. There wasn't a fighter in Chicago or the near area that hadn't tried to get into the Lion's Den. I was no exception. So you can imagine my surprise when Shlomo first told me that he knew the owner and could get me in. At first, I was looking forward to it. But now, I couldn't focus on much of anything outside of the men I was going to have to lay to rest. And although it pained my heart past words, I couldn't shake the feeling that my baby brother was going to be one of them. Y'all knows I didn't want to make that call. But if it came down to making a choice between him and my wife and child, I shook my head. I didn't want to think about that. I had to find a way to fix this without it coming to that, which means I really didn't have time for this. I needed to lay hands on Rashid and see how much damage he has done, and then decide how best to deal with the Cubans. Shalom, Akeem. Shlomo's voice boomed out to the handful of men that were here in the spacious gym. I had never met Lion in person, but I knew him instantly. He sat on the side, wiping some weights down with a lightly oiled rag. When Shlomo called out to him, he stood and headed towards us, his shrewd eyes taking me in, sizing me up to determine what kind of man I was. On the way here, Shlomo had told me that I was coming to the gym at a perfect time because not only would I be training with Lion, but I would also be training with someone named Gideon, who's going to be in town for a while. He said both Akeem was having a tough time because their sons had gone missing and nobody knew where. I asked him why Lion and Gideon were taking the time they could be using to look for them to train me, and his answer was chilling. Their lives are not their own. They understand something you have only begun to know, and it's that they are simply vessels for the Most High, to do with as He will, and so are their sons. Sure, they're hurt. They miss them. It's tough to comfort their grieving wives. But the journey their boys are embarking on is a journey they have prepared them well for. And now, Lion and Gideon have to continue with their work, which is to continue to train the Akeem that Yah send their way, when He sends them their way. Each of the warriors they train have their own journeys to take, just like their sons, Dawid and Monroe. I understood his words, but he didn't understand that I already had a journey, one that if I ignored could cause my family to be hurt, one that escalated out of control because I had decided to leave the game as if I could just walk away. In theory, it would be great to become a better man, but the truth was, that was not my destiny. I belonged to these streets, and once they had you, they didn't know how to let you go. Had I not been distracted by the things Shlomo was teaching me, it would not have gotten so far out of hand. I would have kept a better watch on Rashid and continued to protect him from himself. Although Yah knows it's an exhausting job and one that I am tired of. Still, I had to tell these brothers that although I was honored they had chosen me to fight with them, I needed to decline because quite frankly, I had other matters to attend. Okay, Monica, don't be a groupie. Don't embarrass your husband. That was great advice. But the closer Lion got to us, the less likely I felt as if I could listen. Oh my goodness. I could not even begin to describe the might of this man. I saw something move from the corner of my eye, and then I let out a little squeak as I squeezed Caleb's hand while moving as close to him as I could possibly get. That lion, dear Yah, it was huge, and it was looking at me. Relax, Mom. King don't eat troublemakers, Shlomo said, chuckling. I looked over at King with a measure of doubt. This lion was famous in the hood, mainly because nobody can understand why he was allowed to be here since it was technically illegal to own him here on the west side of Chicago. Rumor had it that the police was too afraid to say anything to Lion about it, so they just pretended they didn't know he had a pet lion. Maybe I will one day work up my courage enough to ask him how he goes about keeping him as a pet. Or maybe I wouldn't. My nana would say, "Now Monica, that's just too nosy. It ain't none of your business what kind of pet them folks got over there." When finally we reached Lion, he held his hand out to Caleb. "Shalom, Ak." His deep voice filled the room. There was something in his tone that reminded me of Mika's. Like he really didn't want to talk, but he did it because he had to. "Hey, Shalom," Caleb responded as they embraced in a brotherly hug. It ended up being a three-way hug because I was practically glued to Caleb's side, my leery gaze still on Mr. King, who at the moment came to rest on his hind legs next to his master, before he opened his huge mouth in a wide yawn. "Lion, this is Caleb, the young brother I've been telling you about. This kid is gifted, from the Most High. Fast. He just needs a little tune up, that's all." Lion nodded. "Okay, yeah, we'll check him out." And a little troublemaker glued to his side is his Isha, Monica. "Monica, Lion." Lion chuckled, although his grin didn't reach his eyes. "I think I remember her. Little thing this high." He held his hand to his waist. Little locks sticking straight up everywhere. Oh my goodness. He remembered me. I was cheesing so hard my cheeks hurt. "You remembered me," I said on the side. Caleb turned to look down at me and frowned. I looked up at him. I was so thrilled, even his frown couldn't dim my mood. "He remembered me," I told him. Both Shlomo and Lion chuckled. Caleb just shook his head. "Hey, come on in. Make yourselves comfortable. Benaiah," he called to a guy that was about my age, maybe a little older, who was lifting weights over to the side. "Go downstairs and get Gideon for me, man." The youth took off at a jog toward the back of the gym. "Ginaya," Lion called back towards the same direction. "Yeah, Daddy." A pretty young girl that looked to be about 14 or 15 came from the room that looked as if it was a kitchen or something. "Where's your sister?" he asked when she came to a stop next to him. She put her hand in King's mane and scratched his head. The big cat must really enjoy her touch because he began to purr so loud it vibrated through the floor. "She won't get out the bed," the young lady told him. Lion exhaled. "And Mama won't either." For just a moment, she looked at her dad with angry eyes. He wrapped his arms around her and pulled her close. "Yeah, I know. Listen, do Daddy a favor and take Monica in the kitchen and make her a snack." It was so weird seeing this big, fierce man in father mode. "Go with Gina, troublemaker," Shlomo said. I went to follow her, but Caleb still held onto my hand. My gaze lifted to his face. He studied Lion and his daughter. Then he looked around the gym, sizing it up. I put my hand on his arm. "It'll be okay, baby," I whispered. He looked down at me. The muscle ticked in his cheek before he nodded. "Look, don't go too far, okay? We won't be here long." I smiled up at him encouragingly. "Take all the time you need." I didn't wait for him to respond. I just turned and followed Ginaya. The man named Gideon had joined us. He, Lion, Shlomo, and I now sat in a few fold-up chairs, watching Benaiah spar with another man. Every now and again, Lion or Gideon called out something that they were doing wrong or complimented them on something they did right. It was really a shame my life had taken the turn it did, and I needed to go back into doing gangster shit because I really felt that I could learn a lot from these two men. But it was no need of me prolonging my stay. I had things I needed to handle. Look, I appreciate you guys agreeing to train me, but something came up, and I gotta take care of it. Lion and Gideon turned to look at me, their stares feeling as if they saw more than what I was presenting. "What came up?" Gideon asked. His bluntness took me off guard. "Something," I told him, cause it wasn't none of his business. "What?" Lion asked. They both turned to face me fully, and it was intimidating as hell. I turned my head to look at Shlomo, who sat reclined in a fold-up chair with his legs stretched out in front of him, ankles crossed. He folded his arms across his chest and looked away from me towards his ankle, chuckling a bit, as if to tell me I was on my own. I turned to look back at the two goons, who I was more than positive was trying to punk me. Sat up a bit straighter, squaring my shoulders. Although I know it may be futile, I will try to take these niggas if I got to. Why you want to know? If they wanted to play the blunt game, I was an expert. Lion held up his hands. Calm down, son. It's just a question. Yeah, well, I don't really know you cats to be telling y'all my business. Gideon grunted. Lion nodded his head. Fair enough. I asked cause no matter what it is, I can pretty much guarantee it's a distraction. Distraction from what? From your path, young man, Gideon finally spoke. You were called for a very important purpose, and there are forces out there that will stop at nothing to see you fail. I rubbed my hand over my head, trying to alleviate some of the pressure that was building up in my brain. At the same time, that feeling like my life was shifting again washed over me. I know it seems like there's no other way to go, but it is. Smoke and mirrors these things are, little brother, Lion said quietly. His words irritated me a bit. I frowned. Smoke and mirrors? But you don't know what's going on. How you gonna call what I'm going through smoke and mirrors? Cause you ain't unique. You ain't going through nothing that each of us sitting here ain't went through, he continued. What I'm telling you is, there are higher powers at work here. Powers that if you allow, will play you like a pawn. Your spiritual eyes are brand new. If you give us a little time, we'll teach you how to use them, so that you too can see through the facade and know that my words are true. Gideon leaned forward, putting his elbows on his knees. And after that, if you still need to damage something, he sat back holding up his arms. You my eye. I'ma roll with you. All we ask is that you give us some time to show you how to see through the smoke and mirrors to the real world underneath. I thought you were training me how to fight better. All three of the men chuckled without humor. Gideon sat back in his chair, folding his arms in the back of his head. It's all a part of the training, kid. I thought about their words. They said the higher powers were at work. Could it be a coincidence my brother decided to completely show his ass when I came into this truth? Could it be a coincidence Shlomo showed up in my office as soon as I decided that this truth wasn't for me? Could y'all be fighting for me? And if so, why? Monica's words to me before we left the office came back. Come on, baby. You can do this. Everything that happens for a reason. At least find out why. I looked at Lion and Gideon. Yeah, okay. What do I have to do next? Shlomo, who still sat with his arms folded across his chest, looking down at his crossed ankles, began to chuckle again. Bruh, I sure hope what it looked like happened in your office today happened. 'Cause the cookie jar go bye-bye.